Okay. Let's do it.
Welcome to MojoPlays, and today we're looking forward to our alone time in 2025. We understand some of these games could slip from their projected release dates next year, and some of these games do feature multiplayer, but as long as going solo is the main aim of the game, it counts for our list.
People say I have this coming.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. Assassin's Creed Shadows.
You are still a frog in a well, who knows nothing of the sea.
It's hard to believe we haven't had a fully fledged entry in the Assassin's Creed series since Valhalla in 2020. Yes, we had Mirage, but that was more of a half step. With AC Shadows, Ubisoft is finally giving fans what they've been demanding for entire console generations and taking the series to feudal Japan. Featuring two playable protagonists, whom players can often choose between at the start of missions, each with their own distinct playstyles and numerous weapons, we'll also get some new mechanics such as the ability to crawl, which we honestly can't believe it took this long to implement in the series. Shadows also features a dynamic weather system, which will not only affect how players interact with the world, but also how they approach their missions. Shadows was recently delayed to February 2025, which puts it in direct competition with Ghost of Yotai for the best stealth samurai game of the year.
We are the shadows.
That serve the light.
Like a Dragon, Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii. Eat your heart out, Skull and Bones. This is the only pirate game we're interested in playing. It would seem the Yakuza found it hard to leave the Hawaiian paradise behind, and the series' next spin-off title, starring everyone's favorite eye-patched companion Goro Majima, will be taking place on the high seas. Unlike the recent turn-based combat entries, Pirate Yakuza returned to the series' trademark brawler combat, while also exploring the island Goro washed up on and building your own band of misfit pirates. Players will also be able to fully engage in naval battles and even board the enemy ships to take on their crew. Can you even imagine such a thing? So far, Pirate Yakuza is shaping up to be a throwback for longtime fans, as well as the best pirate adventure since Assassin's Creed Black Flag. Kingdom Come Deliverance II.
I always dreamt of leaving this place.
Kingdom Come Deliverance made quite an impact when it was released, with its incredible attention to medieval detail and strict adherence to realism. Its long in development follow-up looks to build on what made the original so memorable, while innovating on its own mechanics and formulas. The first title was already an incredibly expansive and cohesive experience, but the sequel promises to give players not only a world twice as large as the original to explore, but also more choices in how they approach conversations and missions that affect the overall narrative. We'll also see the addition of new weapons such as rudimentary firearms and crossbows. The Kingdom Come series is not for the faint-hearted, and due to the realistic nature of the game, can be extremely difficult for those expecting a Skyrim-style experience. This is the real Dark Souls, and you will die a lot.
Will you help us, Henry?
Pokemon Legends ZA. Pokemon fans have been dying for some innovation in the long-running series. And while we don't have a ton of information about the upcoming Legends ZA, what we do know so far has made die-hard trainers very excited. The second game in the Legends series, ZA will return future Pokemon trainers to Lumiose City in the Kalos region, which hasn't been seen since the beloved Pokemon X and Y. According to recent leaks, ZA will also see the return of Mega Evolutions and will possibly mark the start of the 10th generation of Pokemon, which always comes with all new Pokemon for players to find and capture. Given the 2025 release window, it's likely ZA will be a cross-platform release with Switch and Switch 2. Judas.
But I'm here to set you free, whether you like it or not.
It's hard to believe it's been over a decade since BioShock Infinite, but in 2025, gamers will, supposedly, get their hands on BioShock Mastermind Ken Levine's next project, Judas. Set on an enormous colony spaceship, the Mayflower, with the last remnants of humanity caught in the middle of a civil war between 3 separate authorities, each with their own ideals for humanity's future. Players will need to side with the different authorities throughout the game, and their decisions will affect their relationships with the rest, which can even result in them actively attempting to sabotage the player. Ken Levine describes the game as narrative Legos, in which the game will have any number of outcomes based on the player's actions and allegiances, which can affect the overall narrative, leading to different results and endings each time you play.
You are the frog in a pot, boiling so slowly. You don't even know what's happening.
Earthblade. Extremely OK Games' sophomore effort Celeste took the indie world by storm, and became one of the most critically acclaimed indie games of all time by both fans and critics. The balance of challenging but rewarding platforming combined with a shockingly deep and introspective narrative combined perfectly to tell a story that was equal parts heartbreaking and uplifting. Naturally, any kind of follow-up will have a lot to measure up to, and thankfully, rather than just repeat their past success, the developer is building on what made Celeste such a hit. Utilizing an open-world Metroidvania design, Earthblade maintains the pixel art style and platforming challenges of Celeste, while also giving players a variety of enemies to combat. We know very little about the overall narrative besides the player character Nevoa returning to a ruined Earth, but we have every reason to believe Earthblade will pull on your heartstrings just as effectively as Celeste. The Midnight Walk.
If you're intending to walk the midnight walk, you better be sure to keep your spark safe and burning.
There have already been a handful of games that have utilized stop motion to give their game a distinctive style, such as Harold Halibut earlier this year, but few have been as ambitious as the Midnight Walk. Not only is absolutely everything in the game handcrafted and animated, but it is fully explorable in 3D and even playable in VR. The Tim Burton-esque art style is immediately eye-catching, and both the world and creature designs perfectly encapsulate the dark fantasy aesthetic and are uniquely unsettling in motion thanks to their meticulous detail. Players will need to outsmart and escape many of their enemies rather than engage in outright combat as they guide their little potboy through the world of nightmares that is all too eager to snuff out his little light.
And so it was that the burnt one and a small flame took a wander down the midnight walk.
Replaced. Fans of the cyberpunk genre have been spoiled for choice lately, but Replaced is putting its own unique spin on the genre. Despite the 2.5D perspective and pixel art style, Replaced absolutely nails the cyberpunk aesthetic, and its narrative of an AI placed within a human body is instantly engaging. The game features an inventive combat system which, coupled with the game's cinematic presentation, can instantly make players feel like an AI-driven killing machine straight out of the film Upgrade. Phoenix City is phenomenally detailed, full of neon lights, rainy streets, flying cars, and numerous alleyways and hidden paths to explore. Dripping with atmosphere and a gorgeous art style, a unique combat system, and a complicated and interesting narrative, Replaced looks to be another solid entry in the cyberpunk genre that can stand alongside the likes of Cyberpunk 2077. Avowed.
Go, tame the chaos that plagues the living lands, so that those who remain standing can shape its future.
Obsidian has finally achieved the worldwide recognition they always rightfully deserved as one of the best developers of Western RPGs, and with their latest upcoming title Avowed, the studio is coming for Bethesda and Skyrim's glory. While the developer has already set expectations that Avowed will not be on the scale of Skyrim, it will nonetheless feature mechanics Elder Scrolls fans are familiar with, along with Obsidian's incredible choice-driven narrative gameplay and world building. In addition to sword and shield combat, players will also utilize several firearms as well as multiple spells which can be combined with the rest of their arsenal. Set within Obsidian's Pillars of Eternity universe, players will be tasked to investigate a mysterious plague affecting the kingdom and will encounter all manner of enemies, unique NPCs, and join forces with numerous companions along the way.
He is wrong. The dream scourge is but a symptom of a deeper, more dangerous rot.
Gears of War E-Day. The Gears franchise has been suspiciously absent from Microsoft's new box, but after the surprise reveal that the series will be going back to where it all began, we can't wait to take on the Locust Hordes again. Gears of War E-Day reunites appropriately younger versions of series regulars Marcus Phoenix and Dominic Santiago in the earliest days of the Locust invasion, 14 years before the events of the first Gears of War game. While the Coalition has confirmed that there are still plans to continue the current Gears events set up at the end of Gears 5, the team wanted to explore the brotherhood between Marcus and Dom, as well as see them as inexperienced COG soldiers struggling to survive the surprise invasion. Fans of the old school, more horror-driven and linear nature of the original trilogy of Gears games will find themselves right at home with this origin story. Fable.
Not all stories have happy endings.
Fable fans have had a rough few years since the original mainline trilogy ended back in 2010, and there wasn't really much hope of the series making a comeback. Thankfully, Microsoft refused to give up on the IP, and instead of resurrecting Lionhead Studios, instead gave the franchise to Playground Games, the developers of the highly acclaimed Forza Horizon series. From what we've seen so far, the newest entry manages to maintain what made the original game such a hit. The wry humor, combat, and world of Albion all seem to be in good hands. While we haven't seen much true gameplay so far, the bits we've seen seem to hit all the right marks fans are familiar with. Hopefully, the newest entry maintains the series' good and evil karma system, as well as the all-important character creator.
With their disproportionately high cheekbones and comically massive weapons.
Bunker.
Doom: The Dark Ages. Doom has had one of the greatest renaissances in gaming in recent years, re-establishing the series as the premier run-and-gun shooter with back-to-back bangers Doom 2016 and Doom Eternal. With the third entry in the rebooted series, the developers at id Software are taking the Doomslayer back to his roots even further by chronicling his first encounter with the forces of hell, and things are about to get medieval. The trailer showcases the Doomslayer's iconic boomstick, as well as new additions to his arsenal, including a gun whose ammo is human skulls, a new shield weapon the Slayer can use to block and parry incoming attacks, as well as rev up and throw around the battlefield, slicing and dicing as it flies. This is alongside all new variations on the familiar formula, such as piloting an enormous mech and taking to the skies on the back of a dragon. Monster Hunter Wilds.
As soon as we find a good spot, we can get things set up and ready to go. And then we can get started.
This is gonna be great!
You bet.
The Monster Hunter series has grown in recent years from a niche series to mainstream appeal, particularly with the unprecedented success of Monster Hunter World, and Capcom is looking to keep that momentum going with the newest entry, Monster Hunter Wilds. Wilds gives players more options for hunting than ever before in the series, with all new weapon types and combinations, as well as a mount to explore the vast new open-world biomes. Players will also have new variations of familiar tools such as the Slinger, and a new focus mode in which players can target specific weak spots on the many monsters they're hunting. Hunters will also encounter herds that will protect themselves from the approaching hunters, and dynamic weather which will affect the animal's behavior. As with previous entries, players can team up for hunts, but a true hunter is a lone hunter.
I've selected you as a lead hunter for this expedition.
Thank you, sir.
Marvel 1943, Rise of Hydra.
Look, pal, I don't know who you are.
But I know who you are. Captain, America's hero, dancing around in red, white, and blue underwear.
Marvel has been experiencing quite the renaissance with their properties in recent years, and given the talent behind Marvel 1943, we fully expect Rise of Hydra to be another banger. After having her plans for an adventure in a galaxy far, far away crushed by EA for focusing on an original single-player narrative-driven adventure, Skydance Media asked Amy Hennig to create an original single-player narrative-driven adventure set in the Marvel Universe. Players will take control of both Steve Rogers, aka Captain America, and Azuri, grandfather of T'Challa, the Black Panther we all know and love during World War II, as they both fight to end Hydra before it becomes the powerful world-controlling entity. The game is already a showcase piece for the Unreal Engine 5, with some of the most impressive facial animations we've ever seen, and given Henig's catalog of games, we have very high hopes for this one.
Stand aside!
I do not take orders from anyone!
I don't have time for this.
Neither do I.
Metroid Prime 4 Beyond. When we say we've been waiting a long time for this one, we mean a long time. First revealed back in 2017, Nintendo then announced in 2019 that development had restarted with original Metroid Prime developers Retro Studios at the helm. Fast forward another 5 years with no news, and not only did we finally get our first true look at this long-awaited sequel, but we also got a release window of 2025. Considering how impressive Beyond looks graphically, many are anticipating Metroid Prime 4 to be a cross-gen launch title for the Switch's successor, also coming in 2025. Outside of the impressive footage shown, we know next to nothing about Samus's next adventure, and honestly, we're okay with a little mystery. Claire Obscure Expedition 33.
One stroke, and everyone of that age vanishes into nothingness.
Turn-based RPGs are as old as the genre itself, and while the term RPG has an incredibly loose definition these days, traditional turn-based RPGs are thankfully making a welcome comeback. Expedition 33 chronicles a group of explorers as they attempt to track down a paintress who wipes out an entire age group with each number she paints. The game is stunningly gorgeous thanks to Unreal Engine 5, and adds multiple layers to its turn-based combat to keep the player constantly engaged and on their toes with counters, parries, and quicktime events. With an incredibly unique setting, an inventive twist on turn-based combat, and an absolutely stacked cast including Andy Serkis, Ben Starr, and Charlie Cox, Expedition 33 is at the top of our most anticipated RPGs of 2025.
We exist for as long as she wants. You won't yet understand. But this is a kindness.
Death Stranding 2 on the beach.
It's time for you to hit the road and start a new journey.
Death Stranding might not have been what longtime Kojima fans were expecting after the director split from Konami, but the game has thankfully earned a much-deserved retrospective appreciation in recent years. With his apocalyptic sequel, Kojima is going bigger than ever before, and not only offering porters entirely new regions to explore, but also new combat mechanics to deal with mules and BTs. Sam will also seemingly have to deal with unpredictable weather effects, as well as unstable terrain as he once again navigates a crumbling world filled with all manner of supernatural entities. Kojima also recently showed off one of the most impressive photo modes ever seen in a video game, highlighting that taking photos of Sam's companions will also play into the game's overall narrative, as well as deepen the characters' relationship with Sam.
Not bad, eh?
Crimson Desert.
Are you telling me to jump from here?
Don't worry. It's only one step.
That step better not lead to the afterlife.
Crimson Desert is without a doubt the kitchen sink of gaming in 2025. Combining elements of the Legend of Zelda exploration, Dragon's Dogma-style boss encounters, The Witcher 3's open world, and the recent God of War games' combat, as well as Assassin's Creed's stealth, parkour, and climbing abilities, all set within a massive medieval open world. And we do mean massive. The game has no shortage of expansive biomes for players to explore, as well as varied boss encounters and modes of transportation. Your horse can even drift, for God's sake. Originally planned as a prequel to Pearl Abyss's wildly popular MMORPG Black Desert, the team shifted the scope of the game to single player and dropped most of the typical RPG trappings in favor of an action-adventure experience. Crimson Desert is looking to be one of the most ambitious titles of 2025, but also one we're most excited to get our hands on.
Weight of this crown. I now rule over naught but ruin.
Ghost of Yotai.
Still think you're the hunter?
Ghost of Tsushima blew everyone away with its unique approach to open world mechanics, solid characters and combat, as well as Sucker Punch's unrivaled attention to historical detail. Fans were understandably excited to continue Jin Sakai's rise as the Ghost, possibly on the mainland, but Sucker Punch decided to take a different approach with the sequel. Set in the shadow of the titular mountain of Yotai, the new Ghost Atsu will have access to all new weapons and abilities as she becomes the most hunted Ronin in the land. Sucker Punch says their goal with the sequel is to set up future stories all inspired by Jin's actions, and giving players even more control over Atsu's narrative. The team is also working diligently to incorporate more unique open-world activities than ever before to keep the gameplay loop from becoming too repetitive. We'll miss Jin, sure, but we still can't wait for this one.
And now, every Ronin here is after you.
Grand Theft Auto 6.
Lucia, do you know why you're here?
Bad luck, I guess.
Come on, there's nothing else that could have topped our list. After enough re-releases to rival Skyrim and single-player DLC scrapped in favor of the money-printing machine GTA Online, longtime GTA fans have been dying for the next mainline entry in their favorite crime-riddled sandbox. Details are understandably scarce given Rockstar has only released one trailer so far, but the return to Vice City and the promise of numerous different biomes and islands to explore has fans grasping at any small tidbit that might slip through the cracks. The inclusion of viral social media moments, as well as the possibility of two protagonists, Lucia and her male counterpart, becoming internet sensations while outrunning the law, offers a modern twist on the familiar GTA formula. Out of all the titles on this list, however, GTA 6 seems the most likely to suffer a delay following Rockstar's previous release history. But fingers crossed that we're wrong.
Trust?
Trust.
Which single-player game are you most looking forward to in 2025? Share your picks in the comments. Did you enjoy this video? Check out these other clips from MojoPlays, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.